I, 63 female, and my husband, 67, had a situation with my son last year. During the global issue, his girlfriend got pregnant. He moved her in with his roommates, who were not happy. The roommates left, and they resigned with the landlord for themselves. But his girlfriend couldn't or wouldn't find a job, and he lost his job a few months later and couldn't pay rent. Now they have an eviction on their record and terrible credit because they lived off of credit cards, so they have thousands in credit card debt. I didn't want them moving in. My son, 38, lived at home until he was 31, so we had a lot of trouble getting him to move out. But his girlfriend was giving birth soon, so we took them in. They stayed for almost a year, and the deal was that they both get jobs, help pay utilities, pay off their credit cards, and find a place to live. They were only supposed to stay for 6 months, but wouldn't move out when they were asked to at the end of the 6 months. They said no one would rent to them because of the eviction on their record. They also didn't make enough to pay utilities. So my husband and I paid more in utilities, and they ate for free, since they would take from the fridge and wouldn't buy any groceries themselves. We offered to help them with baby expenses, diapers, car seats, etc. at first, but it's been almost a year, and we're still paying for it. They were doing DoorDash, but only worked 3 to 4 hours a day. I kept trying to get my son a full-time job, but he got angry and accused me of nagging him. His girlfriend also is very messy and doesn't clean up after herself. I've changed more diapers and fed her son, more than she has, and it's infuriating because they chose to have a child but won't take responsibility. My husband and I have been retired for 2 years now, and we had planned to move to Chile, where I'm from. We were supposed to sell the house last year and didn't, just to let them stay, but it's been over a year and we were sick of it. We kept telling them they had to move out and they just ignored us. So we put our house up for sale. We wanted to renovate it first, but they wouldn't let us into their bathroom and room, so we decided to sell it as is. We got a fair offer and closed in a weekend and told them they had 2 months to move. My son yelled at us for kicking them out and not caring about him and shattered our decorative vase. They finally moved out, and we're in between places and we'll be going to Chile next month. But my son and his girlfriend currently have nowhere to live. They're staying with a friend now, but they're only letting them stay until the end of the month, and then they'll have to figure it out. My son yells at me over the phone and tells me I'm never allowed to see my grandson again for kicking them out. I don't know where I went wrong, that he couldn't be an adult, get a job, and move out without being forced. Not the idiot. He's 38. You were way more patient than you should have been. I never understood why kids felt that blackmailing or threatening their parents with grandchild visitation was a real threat. Aren't parents the ones that benefit the most from the free babysitting? Enjoy your retirement in Chile. OMG, son played them like a fiddle. The final "you won't see your grandson." Well, they're moving to Chile. How much would they be seeing him anyway? It's bad that there's an innocent kid in the equation, but you can't help people who won't even make an attempt. That said, maybe OP should look into making a trust fund for the kid that his parents can't touch. There's no point in leaving any inheritance to the son. He'd go through it in a week and then pout to their graves that they didn't help him enough. I'm pretty sure that son and his girlfriend thought that you were going to take care of them until you passed away and they inherited your house. I like your style. Sold that house right from underneath them. Now they can figure it out. Maybe this will be the wake-up call he needs. He might finally be forced to stand on his own with no home to return to and with you in a foreign country. If you had let them stay, which was clearly their plan, you would have been an idiot to yourself. You may have gone wrong nowhere at all. Some amazing kids come from awful parents, and sometimes, though rarer, amazing parents raise idiot birds. I do worry for the kid, and I think you should call CPS. This baby is a baby, and there's a decent chance of adoption since the two of them can't get it together. If I were you, I'd try to come to peace with never seeing your grandchild, because even if you keep the kid, they will always use that child as a pawn to get money and housing. And anytime you say no, they will threaten and remove the child. Your son is nearly 40. I'm so sorry because I know you're embarrassed. Whether you did a good job or a bad job, your job here is done. I, female 32, have a sister, 38, going through infertility. She got married when she was 35 and didn't meet her husband until she was 33. While I completely understand that infertility is difficult and painful, she should have known that statistically, getting married at 35 would make it incredibly hard to get pregnant and have a baby. I have, however, kept this to myself. Yesterday, she made an Instagram post for National Infertility Week, saying that not being able to get pregnant and going through fertility treatment is the hardest experience of her life. She shared this with me privately too. Now, as her sister, I wanted to give her some perspective about the other negative life events she's gone through. Our dad had a heart attack and a difficult recovery when she was a teenager, and I was in elementary school. She got laid off in 2009 during the Great Recession and couldn't get hired again for almost a year. I didn't comment on the post, but I privately reminded her of these events and told her that there are other ways to become a parent and involved in children's lives. She accused me of trying to minimize her pain, and I was stunned. I didn't think that's what I was doing at all. In my mind, I was trying to help her reframe her infertility and consider the other things she has overcome in her life and the options she has if she truly can't get pregnant due to her age. I didn't think I was the idiot, and I don't think she's an idiot exactly, just sensitive. But what do you all think? You are the idiot. Your sister's right. Because of statistics, you're blaming her for waiting until she was 35 to get married and trying to have children? Mind your business, or be supportive of your sister. This is what stuck out to me too. OP sounds super judgy of her sister for getting married at 35 and seems to have an attitude of, well, that's what you get. I'm just about a year older than OP's sister. Being in your 20s in the late 2000s and 2010s was rough. So many people delayed getting married because the recession killed any ability they may have to become stable enough to be a good life partner. Also, I know plenty of people who had their first babies after 35 with no problems. I even know someone who had a first baby at 41 without intervention. So it's not a given that OP's sister was going to have fertility problems. OP sounds like she thinks women over 35, in age she's rapidly approaching, are dried up, worthless husk. And you're not sure if you're the idiot? Wow. The only acceptable response to her post is, I'm so sorry you're going through this. It sucks so much, but I'm here for you if you need to vent or talk. And then actually be there for her. She doesn't need you to problem solve, which she already likely has a team of experts addressing to try to give her perspective. Additionally, if you already have children or are child-free by choice, your response is doubly ignorant because you have absolutely no idea what she's going through. So I, 39 male, live with my wife across the street from a family, Dan and Gina, and their 3 kids, the oldest of which is a young teen boy named Max. I recently took a week-long vacation and made a deal with Max, communication with his parents, that if he came to my house once a day when I was gone to care for my cat, I'd pay him $50. He had 3 main tasks: refill her water dish and automatic feeder, brush her, clean her litter box every other day. When I returned, I found my poor kitty noticeably skinnier, with knots in her fur and her litter box with a work's worth of urine and feces. I took the next hour to give my kitty some TLC and make up for Max's incompetence. The next day, Gina and Max rang my doorbell, and Gina conversed politely before asking about the money. I told her how badly Max had cared for my cat, and Gina apologized. She then said that due to his actions, it would be fine to just pay him only $20. I told her, no, I wouldn't be paying him anything, because it was clear that he never came over at all. Gina argued that I couldn't know that. True, I don't have cameras, and that he's just a kid, and he sacrificed his free time to get paid, that I should at least give him $10 as a learning experience. I refused and shut the door on them. Now, I respect workers and their time, and I understand that when you hire someone, you pay for their time and their skill. I think Max didn't give his skill, and I have a strong suspicion that he didn't give his time either. However, I realize I could be wrong, and I don't want to make trouble between my wife and Gina, as they're good friends. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You don't get consolation prizes for not showing up at work in the real world, and Max should learn that now. Your boss isn't going to give you part of your pay. No call, no show. You get fired. The fact that his mother apologized to you instead of Max shows he learned nothing. Oh, I hope your kitty's okay. What enrages me is that the cat could have become very sick from a lack of water, and Gina knows he didn't do the work, considering how quickly she dropped how much to pay the kid. Also, I bet she gave Max $50 herself, so he wouldn't be disappointed. She absolutely did this, and one day she'll yell at his boss for firing him. Max could have just shown up once, plopped a huge bowl of water and a big pile of cat food on the floor, and the cat wouldn't have been on the verge of dying. If the mom keeps harassing you, hand her a bill for your time spent convalescing your cat due to her kid's neglect. Also, see if any of your neighbors might have an outdoor security camera pointed at your house to see if he actually bothered to show up. My boyfriend, 25, and I, male 20, recently moved in together. I admit I'm a little messy, but it's not that bad. Sometimes I leave very early for college and leave clothes and stuff lying around the bedroom, but most times I clean it up after I get home. On the other hand, my boyfriend is very tidy and always cleans up. He also does most of the chores around the apartment since A, we both work, but additionally, I go to college. He's already graduated, so he has more free time, and B, he prefers to do it himself because sometimes he doesn't like the way I do the cleaning. He also cooks most of the time because I usually have breakfast and lunch out and get home around dinner time. I clean the dishes afterward. I think that's all, but feel free to ask in case I forget to tell you something important. So the argument we had is because last Tuesday, I got home after work around dinner time and he was cooking for us. After eating, he asked me to wash the dishes. He said he was tired and wanted to lie down, so we went to our room. I honestly forgot to do the dishes because I lost track of time scrolling through Instagram. Then it was late and I decided to just leave it until the next morning and go to bed. He was already sleeping, so I went to sleep too. The next morning, I woke up a bit later than usual, since my classes start later in the morning on Wednesday, and he was already awake. I went to the kitchen and noticed he cleaned up the dishes. He was away doing laundry. We have a community laundry in our building, which is in the basement. He came up with my clothes, and I said hi and asked how he slept. He then told me he slept well, but had a bad morning because he had to clean up the mess from yesterday, even though he asked me to clean it. I got quite defensive and told him I planned to clean it up before leaving. He didn't have to clean because I was going to do it. He told me that I couldn't leave the kitchen dirty or it'll get roaches, and then he tried to scold me like I was a little kid about chores and such. We argued about it for a while, and then I left. When I got home, he tried talking to me as if nothing had happened, but I was still angry because he was treating me like a child. I told him I was tired and went to sleep early. Yesterday, the same thing happened. I was angry and didn't want to talk to him. I also didn't reply to his messages during the day. I tried to go back to sleep early again, but he cut me off midway and asked me what was happening to me and to be an adult and tell him if I was mad. I told him I was angry because he made such a big deal out of the dishes, and he could have just left the dirty plates where they were, and I was going to clean them up when I woke up. He told me he does everything around the apartment, and since he only asked me for one thing, one time, I should have done it when he told me to. We argued again. Am I the idiot now? Scrolling through Instagram isn't an excuse not to do dishes. You're a team here, and just because you're okay leaving something overnight doesn't mean it should. He's treating you like a child because you're acting like one. I feel your boyfriend has to pick up after you more than you let on. You are the idiot, And a huge one, you are also with 100% certainty about to be dumped. Agree, he needs to leave your butt. When he says he wants you to do the dishes, he means today, so he doesn't have to wake up to them. You know the mess bugs him, but you put your in the moment wants ahead of your duties in your shared household. This gets old fast, and it ends relationships. OP, it's not about the dishes. It's about loving and respecting your partner enough to fulfill the obligation you committed yourself to before he went to sleep, instead of making excuses and trying to make him see things your way. But it doesn't matter. You'll be single soon. You're not even living up to roommate standards, never mind adult partner standards. Your boyfriend is sick of living with a child who can't even clean up after himself. Last year in November, my old car broke down. I'd had it for years, but eventually the engine went and I desperately needed a new one. I found a car I liked for 5,000 pounds, but I only had 3,000 pounds saved up at the time. My boyfriend, who I've been in a long-term relationship with, offered to pay the remaining 2,000. It was a week before my birthday, and Christmas was also coming up. So he said he would pay 1,000 towards the car for my birthday/Christmas, and I would pay him back 1,000 over a few months. He said there was no rush for me to pay him back, considering we lived together and basically share money anyway, but that was the agreement. I bought the car and everything was fine. I paid him back 500 pounds over a few months, but then we discovered I was pregnant with our first baby. He told me not to worry about paying back the remaining 500 for my car and to make a savings account for our baby with the money we would use to buy things for our baby. So I set up a savings account, and every month my boyfriend and I have been adding little by little to afford things like nursery furniture, clothes, diapers, etc. I'm now 23 weeks pregnant with our baby girl. About a month ago, however, my car was rear-ended while I was driving. The car was totaled, and my insurance company said they'd pay me the full value of the car, plus compensation. They agreed to pay the 5,000 pounds I purchased it for, with another 2,000 for injuries, etc. Last night, I received this payment, and my boyfriend started talking about what he would do with his half of the money. I said pretty much all of the money will be going towards our daughter. He argued that since he bought half of the car, he should receive half of the payment. I said he didn't buy half of the car, as half of his payment was a gift. I paid him most of what I owed back until he wrote the loan off on the condition it went towards the baby. Therefore, that's where his payment should go. He said we should split the money 3 ways, as this would be the fairest option. A third to him, a third towards the baby, and then a third for myself. I still argued no, as we would need the money for the baby. He told me he's sick of saving money constantly, and he deserves some cash to spend on things he wants, since it's been almost 5 months since he's been able to do so. I said that's part of being an adult and having children. He's still arguing I'm an idiot because he bought half of my car, but I don't think I'm being an idiot here. Not the idiot, and yikes. This situation comes up here often. One person comes into money, and the partner tries to convince them that all or part of it should be theirs. You fulfilled your duty with the car loan. You paid as agreed upon, and the rest was forgiven or a gift. He can't go back and undo that original agreement now that there's potentially money in it, which actually there isn't anyway. But it's all our money, right? Do your partner's actions usually contradict their words, or just when they're talking you out of your money? At most, you owe him $500, and even that he specifically said you could write off. Also, $2,000 is from an injury you sustained, so why does he think he's entitled to that? I have no idea. Presumably, you'll need a new car too. You're having a child with a child. Being a parent obviously means budgeting and saving. That money isn't his, and even if he was entitled to a portion of it, the smart thing to do would be to save it. He needs to grow up.